Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Simply Nail. I am having such a wonderful day. I hope that you have had a very good and successful and productive day. Welcome to my 20th anniversary celebration of wearing dreadlocks. And on this channel, I'm going to feature all the things that I feel passionate about in my world and in my life. And one of those things happens to be wearing dreadlocks. In a previous video, I talked about my journey a little bit, my 20-year journey into the world of wearing dreadlocks. And on this video, I want to discuss with you a question that is pretty common in this world of dreadlocks, of locking, and that is the question of product. What type of product should I use in my hair when I'm beginning my locks and while I maintaining locks? What type of gel should I use? Should I use beeswax? Should I just go all natural and just use water and aloe? What aloe gel? What should I use on my locks? That's a really good question. And the reason I say it's a good question because the lock industry today is a billion-dollar industry, and there are all kinds of product on the market. There's that stuff that's in the white container with the gold and green label, the Jamaican, I think it's called Jamaican something. But I know that even though it says Jamaican on the bottle, it's really not from Jamaica, is it? Probably not. I don't think that people in Jamaica use that on their locks, use that stuff on their locks. I really don't. And then you have other people, other companies who have come up with their own brand to market to the dreadlock community. And being that now dreadlocks are considered culturally appropriate, or they're more acceptable in society today, that is the reason why there are so many products on the shelves catering to the lock or dreadlock community. But the one thing that I have learned when I started wearing locks, the only products that were on the market at the time was beeswax, and then this other locking gel that came in a white container with a purple label and a purple cap, and it was called African locking gel or something of that nature. And of course the gel was not from Africa. So there's that. But there were only 2 products, maybe 3 on the market, and today, wow, I mean, there are just, tons of product on the shelf. But one of the things that I notice a lot about products that are marketed to the dreadlocking community is that they all contain basically some of the same ingredients. And another thing that I've noticed about these products is the fact that they are not created by Black people. So I feel there's something wrong with that in general. But when it comes to product, and I'm going to be serious for a little bit now. When it comes to putting product on your locks, that's a very personal decision that you're going to have to make. Once you start on the path of locking your hair, you may want to use a gel to begin to, start off, to get started locking your hair. When I started 20 years ago, as I said, there were only 2 products on the market. And at the time, my research had showed that, you know, a lot of people started their locks with beeswax. So I went to my beauty supply and I bought some beeswax. And I used it, and that's how I started my locks. Would I do that again? Probably not. Because the thing with beeswax is that and the thing with using gels and waxes on your hair, period, is that it creates residue and buildup on your locks. And that is something that you do not want. Especially getting started. But for me, I use beeswax. And what I didn't like about the beeswax was, first of all, not only was it a big mess, but it did not hold my locks in place for the length of time that I needed them to. So I would, you know, when I first started, I locked my hair, and then the next day I would take my scarf off and my hair would be untangled. And so I found myself ritually almost every day trying to, you know, retwist my locks to get my locks going. And that was a hassle. And that led to a lot of discouragement, but I continued forward. Another thing about beeswax that I didn't like is the fact of the buildup. And there was so much buildup because, like I said, you know, I would, you know, take my scarf off daily, and I would look at my hair, and my hair would be, you know, loosen, you know. And what I didn't know is that it takes time for your locks to become trained, and you do have to train your locks. You have to train the strands to marry each other and to begin to that interlocking process, or for it to begin to grow into a type of pattern where it will, you know, just lock onto itself and stay in the place, or the place that you have designated for it to grow, which is into, you know, one particular lock. So, you know, that takes time. But with beeswax and me continuously putting beeswax on my locks, my hair became sticky. You know, it was greasy. You know, it was just a hot mess. I didn't like it. And then, you know, lint would get trapped in it. You know, dust, dirt would get trapped in it. And then, you know, I had to wash it out, which meant that I had to restart the locking process all over again. So, you know, it's a cycle. And I didn't like it, but even eventually, you know, my hair did lock. And one of the things that I learned, you know, about locking, starting this journey, is that, you know, as I said before, it takes commitment, it takes courage, and it also takes lots and lots of patience. And what I would tell anyone who's getting started locking, especially if you are a woman, your sister, and you're getting started with locking, I would suggest that once you begin, you get your starter locks, keep your hair wrapped. Maybe you might want to invest in some scarves. Learn how to wrap your hair, your head. African head wraps are really beautiful and wonderful. Invest in some scarves. And, you know, the more that you allow your hair to remain in place or remain stationary, snug to your head, you know, the better the locking process will start off for you, and the more likely your hair will begin to lock. Because I've learned, you know, I learned the hard way that, you know, trying to be out here in these streets with some, you know, a brand new set of locks, and, you know, expecting, you know, my hair to begin to lock, and I'm manipulating it, and I'm you know, out here shaking my head out in the sunshine and doing all kinds of things, and then getting in the bed and forgetting to put a scarf on. All kinds of ridiculousness and madness happened to me when I began my lock journey. But, you know, as I said, I am 20 years into this, and, you know, the beginning is what it is, and you have to have lots of patience, and you have to, be committed to the process. And when it comes to products, eventually I began to use that African locking gel I was telling you about, that was in like a white container with a purple cap. And what I liked about it was that since it was a gel, it held everything into place. And so when I began to retwist my hair, the retwist lasted for maybe about a week, 2 weeks, possibly 3. And I became like this retwist, maniac, because I was in a religion that, kind of I'm not going to say kind of, but that, did frown on this hairstyle, this lifestyle that I was on called dreadlocks, and they frowned on it, and I felt the pressure to keep it neat. So, or what society deems as neat. Message. And so that's why I invested in the gels, was because I wanted to keep my hair looking quote unquote neat and tidy. And I didn't want to be offensive to people. I wanted to wear locks, and I didn't want no trouble. So that's why I invested in gels. And when you really get down to it, there are really only 2 reasons that people use gels. They use gels to keep a neat and give their hair a sense of conformity and style. And then another reason why people, gravitate towards using lock gel is, for the retwist, to keep their hair in place. And really, I want to tell you something. Dreadlocks is a lifestyle and a hair situation that can only best be described by Yanni the lockologist as disrespectful. Because locks are not meant to conform. Locks are not meant to be a part of what is considered normal in society. That's not what dreadlocks are. Dreadlocks are inherently cultural, okay, and tribal. And anything, as we know, that's tribal cannot exist without a fight in Western civilization. So if you are, in the process of, obtaining your first set of locks, or you've just begun the journey, or let's say you 2, 3, 4 years into it, and you're spending all this money on gels to keep your hair, looking a certain way, keeping it neat, keeping it unoffensive. Let me hip you to something. Just your act alone of wearing dreadlocks is offensive. Okay? Let's just be honest about it. Your act of wearing dreadlocks is an act of rebellion against society. That's just how it is. Be honest with yourself, because when you're honest with yourself, it frees you from the shackles that develop on your mind and in your wallet. Because when you decide to take something that is really a form of rebellion against Western civilization, and you try to conform it and tame it, you're going to be out of some money. You're going to be out of some money, and you're going to be basically unsuccessful, because our hair as African Americans, when we revert back to our natural selves, our African selves, our hair is basically disrespectful, and that's just how it is. Just basically disrespectfully beautiful. disrespectfully rebellious, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to say to yourself that this is the path that I am on, and you have to be courageous enough to embrace that journey, to embrace that lifestyle and say, hey, this is who I am. Now, I understand that those who make the decision to wear dreadlocks and they are in the corporate world, I understand your dilemma. Your dilemma is, I have to appease the man or the woman, and I have to, look a certain way because corporate America says and dictates that I, as a woman and as a woman of African descent, that I need to conform and I need to suppress who I am in the workplace. And you wearing dreadlocks is counter everything that corporate America stands for. Okay, and here's the thing: the more gel you put in your hair, the more you retwist, the more you interlock, equals more damage to your dreads. So it's like trying to put a circle or cylinder shape into a square mold. Can it be done? No. You could force it and you could struggle to put it in there, but guess what? It's just not going to fit. It's just not going to fit. And you may be able to do so for a certain amount of time and a certain amount of years, but guess what? All of that retwisting that you're doing to your hair, that constant pulling on your scalp, the gels that you are putting in on your locks and on your scalp, it's not healthy. It's not healthy, and it's counterproductive to the dreadlock lifestyle. And you may say, what's a dreadlock lifestyle? A dreadlock lifestyle is the commitment to allow your hair to do what it does naturally without you doing anything to it that is going to deter or interfere with that process. That's what the dreadlock lifestyle is all about. Now, if you can, let's say you decide that, you do want to use some gels. And I have used gels in the past, and I have maybe a couple of canisters of Loc'ing gel in my bathroom right now. And I think they're by, I can't think of her name right now. She's a Muslim sister. I think her name is something Muhammad. Now I have a couple of containers of some of her gels, and they're fine. They're fine. I don't have a problem with it. And when I want to, do something different, and I decide that I want to retwist my hair, usually I only retwist the top, the front, and that's maybe about 10 locks, and I retwist, the side with it, and then that's it. And then I go about my business, and that gel will be up there. It'll be up there for another year or so before I touch it again. And that's what I do. My daughter has dreadlocks, and I started her dreadlocks when she was 13, I think 13, 14. So her locks are pretty long now. And I do not retwist her hair, and if I retwist it maybe every 6 months. And that's another thing that I'll talk about soon, is retwisting. How often should you retwist? But as far as products are concerned, I'm guessing it is a personal decision, but there are things that you can do yourself. You can make your own locking gel out of flax seeds, and I've done that before. I had a flaxseed recipe where you're boiling your flax seeds, and then after you boil them, you strain them, and then when you strain them, after a while, a nice gel develops, and then you can use that to lock your gel and to lock your hair, and it works very, very well if you want something natural. You want to be, a naturalista with dreadlocks. You can, make your own natural organic gel out of flaxseed. There are people who use aloe vera, and just aloe vera straight from the plant, and you can use that. I've done that too in retwisting and relocking my hair. So there are natural things that you can do, natural products that you can make on your own that's very healthy for your hair. But a lot of these gels that's on the market right now, all they really want is your money. And these are from these corporations, these white corporations that love to take money from black people. So if you want to go ahead and use a gel, why not make some yourself? Why not use some aloe vera from the aloe vera plant? Why not make some flaxseed gel? Take a Saturday afternoon and make flaxseed gel. And to me, that is just as good, if not better, than those products that are on the shelves, because if you look at them, they have so many ingredients in them, ingredients that you cannot pronounce. And it's kind of like the ice cream commercial that used to be on the air a lot, where the narrator would say, look at all these ingredients. Can you pronounce those ingredients? What are these ingredients? And then you would see the ingredients to Breyers, or to my favorite ice cream, which is Haagen-Dazs. And how many ingredients does Haagen-Dazs have? Maybe 4. Cream, sugar, eggs, and vanilla flavor. That's it. And hey, let's throw in some some butter pecans. That's it. That's all you need. And a lot of these gels have so many things, so many ingredients in it that's not good for your hair. I know a lot of people say, oh, my scalp is itching. And I'll say, well, what are you using are you using gels on your hair? Yes, I am. I'm using I'm using a Jamaican gold gel on my hair every 6 weeks. Well, maybe that's the reason why your hair is itching, because you're having an allergic reaction to the gel. Or some would say, well, I'm seeing flakes in my hair, and this is outside of dermatological issues, but I see flakes and buildup in my hair. What should I do? Are you using gels? Yes, I am. Well, maybe you should stop using gels for a little bit and see what happens. And I have to say, with time, I realized that I don't need gels for my hair. I don't need to conform to what society says that I should look and how I should present myself as a woman of color. I don't need that. You don't need it either. Just be yourself. And that's the wonderful thing about wearing dreadlocks, is that you can be yourself unapologetically. Just be you. Be the beautiful sister that you are. Be the beautiful brother that you are. And if you need to wear gel, you're going to a wedding and you need to go ahead and retwist your hair and for a wedding or whatever, go ahead and do that. That's a personal decision. Go ahead and do it. But I wouldn't live by it. I wouldn't do it all the time, because if I use gel all the time, I probably would not have a hairline. I probably would not have any edges, and I have lots of, I have plenty of edges, so I don't subscribe to all the gels. So when you're at your beauty supply or at your local Walmart or Target or CVS or Walgreens, my best advice to you would be to bypass the locking gel aisle, because it's really not, it's marketed to us, but it's really not made for us. If you want to, keep your hair looking neat in a certain way, try try making some flaxseed gel, or try using aloe vera straight from the plant. Those are really, really good things that nature has given that your locks would absolutely love. But if you can, stay away from those shelves, those lock gel shells, because they're just there to take your money. They're not there for as a benefit to you. It's a benefit to the manufacturer, not to you. And it's definitely not helpful to your dreadlocks as they begin to grow and mature. So I hope this video was able to help you. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day. Bye-bye.